A warm welcome to those who are genuinely on a quest, not merely hearing, but listening with your entire being. On any real journey, there comes a moment where more information just adds to the noise. Another podcast, another book, another seminar. They stop working. You start to sense that the peace you crave isn't a prize to be won out there. It's a frequency humming silently inside you, waiting for you to turn down the volume of the world, to stop explaining, stop justifying, and just listen. But here's the paradox that no one prepares you for. The moment you have a genuine breakthrough, the second you grasp a truth that rearranges your inner world, your first, most powerful instinct will be to broadcast it, to tell someone, anyone, to turn a sacred moment into a conversation. This is the mind's reflex, seeking an echo to prove its own discovery is real. But a deeper wisdom offers a different instruction: seal your lips, not out of shame or secrecy, but because a newfound insight is like a photograph developing in a dark room. The image has been captured, but it is incredibly fragile. If you flood it with the light of words too soon, you don't share it, you erase it. You must protect it in the quiet and the dark, letting it become solid, permanent, and real. What they don't tell you is that premature sharing is the ego dressed up as generosity. We talk to be seen as wise. We explain to be admired for our progress. But profound change doesn't grow in the shallow soil of external approval. It grows in the deep, silent ground of personal application. Awakening comes with a specific kind of pain. You'll start to see the cages others are living in. Your priorities will shift so drastically that your old life will feel like a costume you can no longer wear. You'll find yourself withdrawing from conversations you once craved. And this will create a profound loneliness, a void that screams to be filled with words, with explanations to prove you're not crazy, to show others you've found a better way. But silence is the ultimate mentor. In silence, you're not trying to sell your truth to anyone. You are simply allowing it to rebuild you from the inside out. The power of your change is not measured by your decibels, but by your depth. So you keep your mouth shut not because others are unworthy, but because the alchemy of transformation is a sacred process. A time will come when you see how cheaply we trade our power for a moment of being heard, how we leak our growth by narrating it instead of living it. You will realize that not everyone has earned a front row seat to your soul's rebirth. Not because they are bad people, but because their journey is not yours. To give them a blueprint of your new self, when they're still in love with their old prison, will only invite ridicule. They haven't felt the pain that makes your truth necessary, and it is not your job to create that pain for them. Your job is not to persuade. Your job is to become. And becoming is a silent, internal process. It happens in those small, unseen moments when you choose peace over drama, discipline over impulse, self-trust over external validation. These are the moments that forge an unbreakable you. Not when you are talking, but when you are being. So the next time you feel that internal shift, that lightning bolt of clarity, that truth welling up inside you, take a breath and ask, does this need to be announced, or does it first need to become my bones? The answer, almost always, is the latter. Give yourself the gift of embodiment. Let the truth change your posture, your habits, and your choices before you try to use it to change someone else's mind. Because when your transformation is real, when it is baked into your very cells, you won't need to post about it. Your presence will be the sermon. Your calmness, your clarity, your silence, they will be a force more potent than any speech. That is how you become a master of your own energy. That is how you become a force of nature. You stop explaining your evolution. You stop treating it like a news story. Instead, you live it as if the work is already done. And that, once you understand it, is the secret. Keep your mouth shut. There's a quiet physics to this world that few discuss because it cannot be proven in a lab. It must be experienced. And the law is this: when you voice a revelation before you've embodied it, you short-circuit its power. Not because the truth is weak, but because your connection to it is still new. When you first access a profound insight, it feels like a surge of electricity. Everything lights up. The past, the pain, the patterns. They all snap into a coherent picture. In that flash, the urge to be a messenger is almost unbearable. But this is the lesson the masters learn. Not all energy is meant to be discharged immediately. Truth is like a high-voltage current. If you aren't properly grounded, it will burn you and everyone you touch. The initial aha moment is not the destination. It's the beginning of a silent practice. Speaking about it too soon is like trying to contain a powerful chemical reaction in a leaky container. The essence escapes. The potential is lost. You must understand, your words are not just sounds, they are conductors of energy, and they carry the weight of responsibility. When you speak on truths you haven't fully integrated, it's like drawing a blueprint for a building you've only dreamed of. The measurements are off. The foundation is untested. Anyone who tries to build from it will end up with a structure that collapses. The discipline of holding your tongue after a breakthrough isn't a rule of etiquette. It is a shield. It shields you, giving your nervous system time to adapt to the new reality your spirit has touched. It shields the wisdom itself, allowing it to move from a fragile idea in your mind to a resilient strength in your character. Because until your behavior reflects your insight, it isn't truth yet. It's a theory, and theories are easily broken by the opinions of the world. When you offer a precious insight to someone who isn't asking for it, you think you are giving a gift. But you are not. You are putting your own fragile growth on trial. You are handing a pearl to someone who will test its durability by hitting it with a hammer. They will question it, minimize it, or project their own fears onto it. And if you are not yet anchored in your knowing, their doubt will become a poison that makes you question your own clarity. In this way, ego often masquerades as a savior. I must share this to help them, it insists. But the truly wise don't rush to the podium. They let their life marinate in the truth first. True power doesn't need a press release. A tree doesn't announce its intention to grow. It just silently, persistently, and powerfully pushes through the soil. Those who need its fruit will eventually find it. In the same way, your transformation will become undeniable over time through the way you carry yourself, the way you handle pressure, the way you listen without an agenda. And this embodied presence will communicate more than 1,000 lectures ever could. It's crucial to realize that some people's comfort depends on your predictability. If you reveal your new awareness to those who are invested in the old you, they will instinctively try to pull you back to who you were. It's not always malicious, it's a defense mechanism. Your light reminds them of the darkness they are choosing not to face. Your freedom highlights their own self-imposed chains. So they will challenge your truth not because it is false, but because they are terrified it might be true. And if your roots haven't grown deep enough, their resistance will make you fall. This is why silence must be your first practice. Not forever, but for long enough that your truth solidifies into an unshakable part of you. You speak only when your words are no longer requests for agreement. You share only when your peace can no longer be stolen by another's disbelief. At that point, you are no longer trying to prove anything. You are simply being the proof. There's one more layer. When you withhold your insights from the world, you force them to work on you. They start to metabolize within you, changing you on a cellular level. You wake up differently. You walk away from arguments more easily. You listen with a new kind of depth. These are the quiet markers of real change. They don't seek a spotlight, but they are impossible to ignore. The people around you will feel a shift in your gravity, a new density in your presence, even if they can't articulate it. That is the energy of a person who has found something real and has had the discipline to hold it until it became them. So the next time you uncover something life-altering, fight the urge to make it a headline. Hold it in the quiet incubator of your heart. Let your silence be the soil that nourishes it. Let your actions be the evidence of its existence. And in time, when the insight has become a fully integrated part of who you are, you'll find you don't have to explain anything. People will be drawn to you, not for your theories, but for your peace. And when you finally do speak, they will lean in, not because you are loud, but because your silence has made your words sacred. That is real authority. That is knowing the secret and knowing when to protect it. There is a painful but liberating truth that few are equipped to handle. Not everybody is ready for your evolution. Not everyone has earned the right to witness what you've seen, and not everyone has the capacity to hold the wisdom that your soul has fought to uncover. When a profound truth is revealed to you, it feels like a universal key, but the error is in believing it will unlock every door you pointed at. It won't, especially if the people behind those doors are comfortable in their own rooms, especially if they are still living the very illusion that truth was designed to shatter for you. The nature of awakening is that it is fundamentally disruptive. It obliterates comfort zones, it exposes convenient lies, and it demands growth, which is always uncomfortable. So when you offer your truth to those who are not seeking it, it will not be seen as a gift. It will be seen as an attack. Picture a group of people who have lived in a dim cave their whole lives. Their eyes are perfectly adjusted to the shadows. Their entire sense of safety is built on the familiar darkness. Then you, having been outside and seen the sun, run back in holding a blazing torch. In your mind, you are bringing them the gift of light. But to them, you are a monster. Not because your light is false, but because its brilliance is painful to eyes that have chosen to remain unseeing. In life, timing isn't just a factor, it's everything. A truth offered at the wrong moment can be more damaging than a lie. This is why real wisdom is inseparable from patience. When you learn something that changes you, your first duty is not to go out and start a movement. Your first duty is to deeply integrate that truth into your own being. Let your life become the silent testimony, because if a person is not already searching for what you found, your words will only sound like judgment, or worse, noise. This becomes agonizingly difficult when the people you love most are the ones still in the cave. You ache for them to wake up. You want to drag them into the light. You want them to feel the freedom you now feel. But you cannot force another's bloom. Transformation must be chosen from within. It is a path that must be walked, not an award that can be given. A dragonfly cannot explain flight to a grub. It can only demonstrate it. Sharing your deepest realizations with the wrong people is like trying to grow an oak tree on a marble floor. It doesn't matter how potent the acorn is, it cannot take root where there is no soil. And if you keep trying, you will only exhaust yourself and end up feeling profoundly alone and misunderstood. The ache you feel is not because your truth failed. It's because you offered a sacred key to someone who was determined to stay locked inside their room. There is also a subtle hubris in thinking it's your mission to awaken everyone else. It is not. Awakening is an inside job, period. No matter how eloquent you are, no matter how pure your intentions, your insight cannot land where there is no receptivity. You may want to grab people by the shoulders and tell them that a different reality is possible. But until they are ready to listen with their soul, not just their ears, your words will be deflected, distorted, or weaponized against you. This is why silence becomes wisdom's greatest ally. When you choose to be silent, you are not abandoning truth. You are honoring it. You are declaring this is sacred. This is not for casual debate. This is a powerful medicine, and I will not force it on someone who is not sick, or worse, who is in love with their own disease. Let your existence be the invitation. Let your quiet joy create a question in their minds. Let your inner peace be so unwavering that it disrupts their chaos, not through sermons, but simply by being. People don't follow arguments, they follow energy. If you have truly integrated a powerful truth It will change how you stand, how you choose, how you breathe. Others will notice. They may not comment on it. But when their own time comes, when their own cave becomes too painful, they will remember your light, and they will come to you and ask. And when someone asks from a place of genuine seeking, then and only then is the soil ready for the seed. This is how real change spreads, not by force, but by resonance. You live your truth so completely and so silently that it becomes magnetic. Those who are ready for a higher frequency will feel its pull, and they will come not to argue, but to learn. Until that day, guard your treasure. Hold it in the vault of your heart. Let it grow you before you try to show it. The world may not be ready for you, but you must be ready for yourself, because if you try to convince others before your own roots are deep, you risk being dragged back into the very cave you just escaped. And that is the quiet tragedy of sharing your light too soon. Your truth might be real, but if it is still young, the wrong audience will kill it. So hold it. Let your silence make you strong. And trust that when they are ready, they will finally see you. Until then, walk in your own light, alone if you must. There is a critical distinction between strength and power. Strength is the capacity to act. Power is the wisdom to know when not to. This is the point where most people get lost on the path to mastery. They mistake power for its loudest expressions, dominance, argument, control. But true power, the kind that reshapes destinies and commands silent respect, is quiet, it is contained. It has nothing to prove. It does not need to announce its presence, because it is the ground on which it stands. When you encounter someone who has truly walked through fire, who has faced their own demons, wrestled with their flaws, and come out the other side, you will notice a quiet gravity about them. They don't rush to speak. They don't need to win debates. Their presence has weight, not because they demand attention, but because they've earned their own self-possession. That is restraint, and restraint is the signature of someone who has acquired power and has chosen to master it. We are living in an age of performance. Everyone wants to be heard, validated, and seen. Our social feeds, our conversations, our relationships have become platforms for constant broadcasting. Everyone is talking, very few are truly listening. Everyone is sharing, but so much of it is hollow, driven by an anxious need for a response. It is a sea of noise, and in the midst of this chaos, the ones with real influence are the quiet ones. The ones who know that some truths are not meant for mass consumption. That personal wisdom is not a commodity to be traded for likes. It's a flame that must be shielded from the wind. You see, restraint is not a sign of weakness or passivity. It is a sign of discipline. It means you have trained your own nervous system to override the primal urge to react, to correct, to defend, to explain. It means you can hold your center when you are provoked. It means you can let someone else be wrong and not feel a compulsion to fix them just to satisfy your ego. That isn't weakness. That is clarity. The moment you feel the desperate need to prove your worth, you have handed your power over to your audience. And that is the definition of powerlessness, wearing a thin mask of confidence. There is a spiritual discipline in holding your truth in silence, in not needing external validation for it to be real. Some things are meant to be embodied, not just articulated. When you have a truly life-altering realization, your first impulse is to turn it into a story. But wisdom is not a narrative. It is a practice. It must first be lived, integrated, and made manifest through your actions. Think of a master craftsman. The most skilled artisans are not the ones who boast about their technique. They are the ones whose hands move with a quiet, confident precision. Why? Because they no longer need to think about what they know. They have become what they know. Their restraint is not an act. It's an effortless expression of their mastery, born from thousands of hours of silent, focused work, of humiliating mistakes and hard-won successes. They have learned that power is not what you can display, but what you can skillfully withhold. The same exact principle applies to your inner world. The more you know, the less you need to say. The deeper your understanding, the less you engage in argument. You no longer need to win. You no longer hunger for applause. You allow others to underestimate you, to misunderstand you, to even dismiss you, because you have discovered that your truth is not dependent on their belief. That is real power, silent, centered, and sovereign. But restraint doesn't just guard your power, it intensifies it. Every time you choose silence, when it would be easier to react, every time you choose presence over performance, you are training your own spirit. You are forging your will. Instead of dissipating your energy outward in an attempt to convince, you channel it inward to build yourself. And with each conscious act of restraint, your awareness sharpens. You start to see with piercing clarity who is worthy of your energy and who is not, which battles are yours and which are distractions, what is real and what is merely noise. This clarity becomes your internal guidance system. It directs your actions, not your emotions. You are no longer a victim of your triggers. You are a conscious creator, responding with intention and purpose. This is where true transformation happens, when your life is no longer a series of reactions to the world, but a deliberate, quiet expression of what you know to be true. In all the great wisdom traditions, restraint was seen as the hallmark of maturity. It signified that you had reached a state where your inner peace was non-negotiable, where you refused to allow external circumstances or other people to knock you off your center. And the most potent thing about that state is this: people feel it. They may not have a name for it. It may even make them uncomfortable, but they feel it. And over time, they start to respond to you differently. Not because you demanded their respect, but because your quiet power made them curious, made them wonder what secret you're holding. And when they finally ask, you'll know they are ready. You won't have to convince them of anything. You will simply share, and your words will have the force of a law of nature, because you waited, because you honored the truth enough to protect it, and because you didn't waste your power trying to show it off before it was fully yours. That is how you walk with quiet authority. That is how you know the secret and keep your mouth shut. There comes a point in every journey of growth where the most powerful move you can make is to be silent. Not because you're empty, but because you finally understood that silence is its own form of communication. And when wielded with wisdom, it can be more articulate than any argument, more definitive than any explanation, and more powerful than any defense. Silence is not the absence of something. It is the container of everything. In the beginning stages of self-discovery, we are often desperate to explain. We want to share every new insight, every feeling, every connection we've made. We are like a cup overflowing, and we feel we must pour ourselves out to be understood. But as we mature, we learn that not everyone is drinking from the same well. Not everyone is ready for the depth of what we have fought so hard to find. And, most importantly, not every conversation has earned the right to our truth. That is when silence graduates from a passive state to an active choice, a choice made from discernment, not from fear. In silence, you are forced to meet your own motives. Are you speaking to get approval? To prove you're right? To feed an ego that starves without attention? Or are you willing to be quiet to conserve your energy, to allow others the dignity of their own path without needing to correct it? Silence forces an honesty that speech allows you to evade. When you strip away the performance of explaining and justifying, all that is left is what is real. And sitting with that raw reality, without the buffer of words, is where the deepest integration happens. There is a forgotten discipline in stillness. The world is in a frantic rush to react, to post, to comment, to perform. But you don't have to be. You can watch, you can listen, you can understand. You learn to perceive the truth, not just in what is said, but in the pauses, the omissions, the energy behind the words. Your perception becomes razor sharp. You become sensitive to what is unsaid, to the subtle frequencies people are broadcasting beneath their speech. This isn't psychic ability. It's focused awareness, and it is forged in silence. Consider a master predator in the wild. Its power is not just in its claws, but in its profound stillness, its ability to observe its environment, to wait for the perfect, decisive moment to act. It is calm, centered, silent, and when it moves, it is with absolute certainty, not reactive haste. The same principle governs a masterful life. When you have mastered the art of silence, you no longer speak to fill a void. You speak only when your words can build a bridge or offer a key. And your choice to remain silent becomes a statement of power, not an admission of defeat. In your relationships, silence can be more profoundly healing than words. Sometimes, the people you love don't need your solutions. They need your undivided presence. Sometimes they don't need to hear your voice. They need the space to finally hear their own. When you stop flooding their process with your opinions, you offer them the sacred gift of their own inner discovery. That kind of silence is an act of supreme love, not neglect. It is a vote of confidence in their ability to find their own answers, just as you found yours. And when it comes to your own journey, especially through pain, silence can be your most sacred refuge. You do not need to broadcast your healing for it to be valid. You do not need an audience for your transformation to be real. The most profound healing often happens in the quiet moments when you sit with yourself, with no distractions and no one to perform for, and you simply allow yourself to be, to feel, to accept. That is the crucible of transformation. In silence, the shattered parts of you begin to find their way back to each other. Not because you forced them, but because you finally gave them the quiet space they needed to reform. Silence also protects your future. The more you talk about your great plans, your bold dreams, your highest goals, the more you expose them to the corrosive energy of other people's doubt and envy. There is immense power in moving quietly, in building your empire without an announcement, in becoming the person you want to be without a running commentary. Let your results be the noise. Let your inner peace be the evidence. When you hold your intentions close to your chest, they gather strength, they take root. They are nourished by your private commitment, not by public applause. And finally, silence is the ultimate teacher of patience. The world will constantly try to bait you into a reaction. People will test you. Life will present you with situations that seem to scream for an immediate response. But in silence, you learn to wait, to observe, to act from a place of centered strength, not emotional chaos. This doesn't mean you become a passive bystander in your own life. It means your words, when you choose to use them, have an incredible impact because they are no longer cheap. They are backed by the weight of your stillness. This is the secret so many miss in their rush to be heard. They believe power must be loud, that wisdom needs a megaphone, that truth must be shouted to be true. But those who have gone deep enough know better. They know that silence isn't empty. It is full. It is where your power is stored, where your insight is deepened, where your boundaries are held. It is your fortress, your meditation, your declaration of self-respect. So once you know something, truly know it in your bones, in your spirit, in your daily life. Resist the urge to make it your new identity on the world stage. Instead, let it live inside you. Let it guide you. Let it reshape you from within. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people who have the courage to be silent until they have something to say that is truer than silence. Until then, let your silence be your guide. The path to true knowing is not built with words. It is discovered in silence. It is strengthened by restraint, and it is often walked alone. Once you have truly understood this, once you have experienced the profound, transformative power that silence holds, the desperate need to prove yourself to the world simply dissolves. The chase for validation that once consumed your energy becomes irrelevant. The battles you used to fight to feel seen are battles your soul has already moved past. You just are. And this state of being, it is forged in the quiet moments when no one is watching. in the early morning when the world is asleep and you are alone with the rhythm of your own breath. In the late hours when you review your day, not with judgment, but with the quiet intent to refine your own compass. It is forged in your stillness, in your patience, in your choice to respond where you once reacted. It is forged in the words you hold back, the victories you don't need to share, and the pain you no longer need to broadcast to make it real. There is an unshakable power in the person who no longer needs to be loud. It is a power that is rooted and undeniable. It is not swayed by praise or by criticism. It is not dependent on being validated or understood by others. It simply is like a great mountain that is not moved by the passing storm, like a flame that does not bend in the wind. The one who holds a deep truth and chooses silence is not hiding it from the world. They are protecting its sacredness, because that's what real truth is. It is earned. It is earned through direct experience, through failure, through difficult choices, and through quiet, relentless self-inquiry. And the more profound the truth, the less you want to speak of it casually. Not because it's a secret, but because you respect it. You understand its weight. You understand that wisdom is not for show. It is for integration. And before it can change anyone else, it must first be allowed to fundamentally change you. So you carry it inside you. You let it cool your temper. You let it sharpen your discernment. You let it dissolve your ego. And you let it guide you like an internal North Star that holds true even in the most disorienting storms. You no longer search for answers outside yourself because you have finally learned how to listen to the silence within. And in that silence, you find clarity. You also find a peace that is not dependent on your circumstances. It is a peace that comes not from everything going your way, but from you no longer needing to control what doesn't. It is a peace that remains steady even when you are misunderstood, doubted, or challenged. You don't engage in fights to prove a point because your energy has become too precious. Your time has become too sacred. Your inner state is no longer open for negotiation. You do not give it away for anything. And that is when your life begins to reorganize around you, not because the world has changed, but because you have. And your change, while quiet, becomes a palpable force. You move differently. You speak with a different weight. You make choices from a place of deep knowing, not anxious hope. You spend your energy with great wisdom, and you guard your silence as if it were a treasure. You don't allow noise to enter your heart. You don't allow chaos to dictate your path. You have become still, and in your stillness, you have become powerful. People will feel this long before they can ever understand it. They may not know why they are drawn to your calm, why your simple words land with such impact, why your presence feels like a sanctuary. It's because you have done the one thing most people are terrified to do. You have gone within. You have sat in the quiet long enough to know that not everything needs to be spoken. Not every insight needs an audience. Some truths are meant only for you to be the silent fuel for your own becoming. So when the world tries to pull you back into its noise, when it tempts you with the promise of applause, of winning an argument, of finally being recognized, remember, you are not here to make a point. You are here to be a presence. You are here to be anchored, to be clear, to be real. And sometimes, the most real thing you can do is to say nothing at all. Let your life be the evidence of what you have learned. Let your actions be the sermon. Let your silence teach more profoundly than your voice ever could. That is how you command respect without demanding it. That is how you create change without force. That is how you protect your power and continue to grow uninterrupted. Because once you have found the secret, once you have tasted the kind of clarity that can't be bought or borrowed, you will understand why it must be guarded, not from others, but for yourself, so that it can continue to guide you, to refine you, and to do its quiet, magnificent work within you. In a world that screams, choose the discipline of listening. In a world addicted to distraction, choose the courage of stillness. and in a world desperate to perform, choose the quiet path of becoming so real they will feel you long before they hear you.